Hi, and welcome to Dear Art Producer. I am your host, Heather Elder, and today is May 1st, 2026, and I am joined by Emily Cunningham, creative producer at JOAN Creative. At JOAN, Emily is currently working on clients eBay and Mohegan Sun, as well as new business. And prior to this, she worked on brands like Brawny, European Wax Center, Sheets, and Hexclad. JOAN is her first ad agency role, and she came into the industry through an art direction internship at Miami Ad School. While she was there, she also spent time set dressing music videos, which was an experience that helped her shape her early understanding of production. I'm excited to have her here. Welcome, Emily. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. While I was reading your intro, I was like, oh my gosh, it is May 1st. Like, I can't believe it's already May 1st.
I know, it's wild. It's funny. Someone in our company Slack channel earlier today said, I can't believe no one's used the Justin Timberlake "It's Gonna Be May" meme yet.
Yeah. Well, and also, I was talking to someone earlier and she was like, I'm not mad that it's May 1st. I'm really excited. She's like, but I'm just like blown away that we're in May. So
it feels a little cold for it to be May 1st. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm wearing a sweater right now. I'm a little bit like, why am I not in a tank top? It's May.
I know, but you know what? You're from Atlanta, you told me. And I have to say, this is fake spring. Like, we all get excited, right? Especially after this insane winter that we had. We all get excited for like spring to come where we think it's going to be, 70 and 80 degrees, but it really isn't. So it's still,
you are not the first person to tell me that. So I believe it. I'm hunkered down. I'm ready for real spring. I'm ready for real spring and summer.
We all are. I am fully ready to be eating outside and not wearing jackets, and absolutely. Well, thanks for being with us today. I am really excited to learn a little bit about, what you're doing at JOAN, obviously. And I thought maybe we can start off by you can explain a little bit about, the internship that you had and Miami Ad School and kind of how you went from interning as an art director to falling in love with production, I'm guessing.
Yeah, of course. I love to tell the story, actually, because it really is one of just being in the right place at the right time and having the courage to ask for something. But I went back to school for art direction back in 2020. I came through way of, I had always kind of worked in more of like a physical art form with visual merchandising and operations in retail, like doing window displays, just like floor sets. So I've always kind of had a love for working with my hands, bringing like some type of story to life. And when COVID hit and retail didn't really seem like it had the most viable future, I went back to school for art direction through Miami Ad School in Atlanta. And that is where I feel like my career really took a turn for the best and started to take form. Miami Ad School is really cool in that your second year, you intern at an agency, you apply, you send your portfolio, you spend the first year really building a portfolio, doing mock campaigns, just anything that an art director would do. They have really great teachers that come from the actual ad agency world. A lot of my teachers were creative directors at agencies or in-house somewhere. So they would give us these really cool mock projects that could totally live in the real world space. You do that for your whole first year. And then that book that you form, you apply to all these agencies that are willing to take in interns and really just give them a taste of agency life. And so that's how I ended up at JOAN in my second quarter. And I technically should have left and gone and rotated and done a different agency. That's that's really their hope, is that you'll experience all that you want in that second year and really know where you want to go. But I fell in love with JOAN, and being named Emily, real common name, I was accidentally, as an art direction intern, added to a production meeting in lieu of a producer, Emily. And I know, right? It's the one time that having a really common name has worked out for me. And I just sat and I was listening. It really just connected so many dots. And I just felt like everything clicked. And I don't know, I remember talking to so many people, just close people to me, about this feeling I got, and people being like, I think you found your passion. I think that's what that feeling is that you just discovered that you could actually make a living off of something that you're passionate about. And those dots that were connected were just from working on music video sets while interning and seeing how production was moving, and then being in this production meeting where producers were talking about the crew they were hiring, the challenges they were up against, how they were solving the challenges. They showed some work in that meeting. I'm pretty sure it was maybe a rough cut from an eBay Motor spot potentially. I wish I could remember the exact spot, but I just remember leaving that meeting being like, this is what I'm trying to do. Like, this is exactly what it is. Like, the
That's
creative
so
part
great.
is, like the creative part is nice, but there's something about bringing it to life, whether it's my idea or not, that like really just fills up my bucket. And so Sherry Anderson was our head of production at the time. She's since moved on. But at the time, that was who could possibly get me in the door. And so I sent her a Slack message. And I said, hey, I love being in this meeting. Can I join them for the rest of my time here? And from there, she just kind of took me under her wing and let me really stay on the production team instead of moving to another agency for the last quarter of my Miami ad school days. I was able to stay on as a production intern. And then I retired on freelance and then full time. And then I moved my husband to New York from Atlanta. And here we are.
That's so great. I always ask the question around the idea that producers always find a very non-traditional path to the job that they have. And, a lot of people don't start out saying, I'm going to be a producer. They just kind of fall into it somehow. And I would say that was very non-traditional how you found your way there.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. Like, I truly did not know that a producer existed. Like, of course I knew of a director, et cetera, et cetera. And then like, as you gain these experiences and you get to see more of a world, you start to see all the different roles. And like, being a producer is not an easy job. I feel like people that are good at it do stumble into it and they somehow realize that it's something that they like. And that's how people end up in production. Yeah. I don't know a ton of producers that are like, oh yeah, I went to school to be a producer.
No, that's what I say. It's always like a non-traditional path. So, okay. So tell me a little bit about your role as a creative producer and maybe expand on that with what you're known for on your team.
Yeah. So it's really great being a creative producer in-house, full-time staff. Like I mentioned before, I permalanced for a little bit, and that was where I really worked on clients. But being in-house on staff, yes, I work on clients, but I also get to work on fun internal projects that really speak to the culture of the agency, or if we're pitching potential clients we might want to work with. So my role really spans the gambit. I produce broadcasts, I produce stills, but then I also get to produce all these like internal rip films. There was a moment where we thought maybe we would do a podcast. Didn't get it off the ground, but for a second I was going to learn how to produce one of those. So being in-house is really cool in that you get to kind of just take on any creative idea that comes from the team or yourself and just try to bring it to life. So yeah, I work on client work, but I also get to work on like pitch rips and sizzles, like I mentioned. And that I think is actually where I shine.
What are you known for on your team? Like if I were to be talking to someone on your team and I asked them about you, what would they say?
Well, they do joke around that I'm the queen of radio production. I am the one producer at JOAN that does radio. And so that's funny. I feel like that's like something that I'm known for. But on the flip side, I feel like the time at which I've spent at JOAN, I have a lot of historical context. My manager has referred to me as like her Yoda before. So I feel like I'm also known for just like being the keeper of the notes. Like we have a lot of clients that return to us that are, or were their agency of record. And so it's really, I feel like I'm known for almost being like the historian of the clients. Like if we have to optimize something that we did 2 years ago, they'll be like, Emily, where are the final files of this? Or where's the generics of this? Which sounds boring, but at the same time, it's really cool to have watched this agency grow over the last 4 years and like to be the keeper of these things.
So what do you like in the role that you're at and all the different things that you see? What do you think would be helpful for, photographers or directors or post-production artists and even reps like myself to understand better about your job?
That's a really good question. And I feel like I have been fortunate enough that all of the partners I've worked with thus far in my career do have a really good understanding of, I think the biggest thing is that things are ever changing. Like, yes, we get a brief on, say, a Tuesday, but then as clients see the first round of creative, their ideas might change. And like, I have to kind of bid and ballpark in step with how the creative ebbs and flows. So I think something that's really helpful for our partners to understand is that once we have a kernel of idea, like we're trying to bring you in there, but then we need you to help hold our hands and help be a partner with the ebb and flow, because it's not a lack of us trying to get all the information ahead of time. It's really more trying to get you to have a voice in the project as early on as possible. And I like I said, I've been very fortunate that I haven't worked with anyone like this, but I have heard horror stories of people being like, oh, well, they needed all the information. I couldn't give them all the information because we didn't know all the information. And then I couldn't go with them for the job. And I feel like in this day and age, like we really all just have to hold each other's hands and understand that everything is swirling all the time and we're all just trying to make the best work. So I think that's something.
I agree with you. I remember years ago when artists started being brought in earlier into the collaboration phase and starting to market that they wanted to do that. There was always a little bit of a moment or a pause where like there was some confusion because they'd be brought in and then they'd collaborate and then we provide bids, but then you wouldn't hear anything. And then the creative would change a little bit and they'd come back to us and it would mean a lot more time and revisions spent on,
Totally.
And which was unusual at the time, but I think it was just had to be a bit of a mindset shift that like, okay, if we are truly collaborating here, like you are helping form the vision. It's not just like the vision is done and we're collaborating on a bid together. It's like we're collaborating on the concept and helping, bring it to life before you have specs that you are, aligning on. It is going to require a lot more back and forth. So
I feel like that's also just like building a rapport with your partners and with your vendors. I know that I personally have an audio house that I work with almost on every single thing that I can. And at this point, the engineer has such a shorthand with my creative director that I'm able to take it to their producer at the very first stage of a script. And the producer is able to put together a bid based off what we've done before. And it just like, it really is such a smooth process. And I feel like with some of the films that we've done in the past, that's also kind of become more of the norm now. Like I can remember when I first started, it was, to your point, a little bit of, oh, now we have to do another revision. Oh, but it was just a process that people weren't really used to. But I feel like even in the last 4 years, everyone really understands that, okay, this is not me just giving you the runaround. Like this is what I'm up against. And I am truly just also like being an agency producer. I think sometimes people don't understand that you're also looking out for your partners. Like, yes, you work for the agency and your creative team is your utmost importance and making the best work is of the utmost importance, but you're also protecting your partners and you're also servicing the client needs. And your main job as a producer is to keep all three of those groups happy and working together and keeping the vision in line. And so I feel like it's almost been a failure that we haven't brought partners in earlier on. And I'm glad that we're finally all starting to see that it is just that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Okay, so with AI and social media and all the evolving media platforms, has your role changed at all? Or do you feel like you jumped in when all of that was kind of happening already?
So, I do feel like with social media and just evolving media platforms, streaming in general, I feel like I came in right at the right time of things changing. I feel like in 2020, when we were all staying home and when TikTok really took off, I feel like, yes, other media platforms and social media and streaming was happening long before then, but I feel like that was really the precipice of like, okay, this might take over broadcast. And that is right at the time that I got into all of this. So like, yes, I've produced broadcast slots before, but I feel like I've always had the social extension component as part of my brief. And so that is something that I'm thankful for. But on the AI front, on the other hand, I feel like in the last year, so much has changed and so much is still up in the air. It's exciting. It's scary all at once. I think the most that AI has changed my role is actually in those RIP films that I was talking about earlier, about how passionate I am about them and how much I love being the go-to person to produce them. It's kind of gone a little bit, and I totally see why it has. And I think it's amazing that we're able to use AI to create these RIPs and, instead of having to really take time with an editor. But then there's also such a beauty in still working with an editor. So I think like that's the biggest part that AI has changed for me, is that the partners we once fell back on, now AI is also a potential partner. And so it's just more to chew on and more to think on in the upfront than I think I had when I first started a couple years ago.
Do you feel like you just had to like dive in and learn that, or was somebody teaching you?
So I feel like it's been a little bit of both, in that I'm fortunate in that my husband has always been in tech. And so AI has always kind of been chirping in the back of my mind of, okay, I should at least be paying attention to this because it's impacting the tech industry, which will then impact all other industries. Something that has been really great at JOAN is that all departments see the benefit in AI. And so it's been almost like an agency-wide push for us to learn. We've been provided resources to try things out. And so I think it's been a little bit of us all teaching each other. So yeah, I would say like my agency being really open to utilizing AI, plus like the curiosity I've had from just like outside sources has kind of like helped me discover it. I would say self-taught more than anything at this moment, but I'm curious to see how that changes and if there will start to be courses we can take, or, I mean, I know there's already courses we could take, but I'm curious how the landscape will change and how much of a factor AI will be in the coming years for my role specifically.
Are you limited by the tools that you can use, or are you able to use whichever ones you want?
I think it really depends. Like I said, I've been really fortunate that JOAN as an agency has wanted to push for this versus just a couple people within saying, hey, we need this. So we have been able to access really premium tools that I haven't really felt a need to explore outside of what's been provided for me. Like we've been using 11 Labs when we do Scratch VO or voiceover for case studies or anything that's, testing, not real, not live, but then also using Flora again for these like testing, these rip films, things like that nature. And I feel like it's making really great stuff. So yes, it's not really being applied to client work just yet, but it's being utilized for a lot of internal.
Is it mostly your previs stuff where you're using
Yes. I would say there's been a couple instances where it has been utilized in post. However, I was not the producer on the project I'm recalling where it was utilized in post, so I wouldn't be able to speak to it. But for the most part, we are very much tapped into AI for our previs. Like that is the default now at this point, is trying to use Flora or 11 Labs or something to create what we're going to have to test.
Creating it? Are the editors creating it who were working with you before, or are you guys in-house creating it?
So we're kind of doing a little bit of both. We have two really talented creative individuals that are on the creative team that really spearheaded using Flora. And so there's been some stuff where our creative team, like art directors, creative directors, even copywriters are prompting and creating these visual outputs. But then on the flip side, we've also been working with editors that we know and love, that we know can do a good, solid rip film that have AI capabilities that have dove into AI on their own. And so we're kind of doing a little bit of both. Like I personally, as a producer, am really trying to still keep a human part of it.
Yeah.
And so if I can still keep giving our partners opportunities to work with us, that is always my like first intention. So ideally it's an editor that has AI capabilities versus us completely just prompting in-house. So then that way the creative team can still do what they would typically do in a creative where they're really in the weeds of reviewing and getting the overall concept versus just prompting, exporting, because that can get tedious.
Yeah, definitely. No, I've had conversations with people about that. Like, some agencies who are, not inviting the artists into the room, right? They're managing the prompting and billing the clients and handling it all in-house. And the creatives are also missing the idea of creating not behind a computer, right? Like being on
Exactly.
set, chase the light, looking for the perfect location. And they just, they're already starting to be like, this is not interesting to me. So as a creative, now prompting is interesting to certain people. First,
totally.
but, some of the people who are being asked to do it are like, this is not what I'm interested in.
Well, and they also have other things on their plate.
Yeah.
If you're in charge of creating an entire design system in a pitch, for example, and yes, the AI prompting now kind of takes maybe like the rip films off your plate from a pitch, but at the same time, you still have all this other stuff to do. So you still need to bring in that editor that can utilize AI to make it more efficient, but it doesn't change like the overall workload. And prompting doesn't necessarily take less time. Sometimes it takes more time because there's less control.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, and also because there's less control, you're getting a million different, like all your iterations.
Oh my goodness, yes. I actually experienced that really recently doing a pretty difficult AI build that I think, honestly, looking back, would have been better to just shoot in person. It was for a pitch rip. And so the thought was, okay, like, let's just do this down and dirty. And it ended up, just because of how different, at a certain point, AI, I think, almost gets tired like a human and is like, okay, I'm not paying attention to all the details. And so it's like, okay, it's been perfect up until this ninth hour. And now it's not even exporting anything that we're putting in. And like, That's something that I think a lot of people are dealing with these systems that are really great systems. But if you're using them for 12 hours straight a day, trying to get the edit down, then towards the end of it, it's like, we're not tracking anymore.
I love that you do that you're like, I'm tired too.
Exactly. I really am like, I think Flora has timed out on us.
Yeah. Really funny. Okay. So how are your clients or even your agency, how are you guys thinking about risks when it comes to AI generated work? Or is that not an issue because you're just using it like internally and previs and that kind of stuff?
We have an in-house business affairs director that is so on top of everything that when AI first was coming to the table, she was very precocious and very cautionary about usage and like what types of images we could use and where they could live. And to your point, we do agree that there is low risk in using them for previs and internal. But then on the flip side, in some of these post jobs, I feel like there's just such a good understanding between usage and like kind of what the rights are between client indemnification, their MSA, and then what our business affairs director knows and works out, that we really eliminate the risk before it gets to a point where everyone has like fallen in love with it. Like there are times where we'll do an AI earlier on and BA will come back and be like, listen guys, this one's not going to fly. And that's where then we pivot the creative. But then there's other times where it's like, yeah, this is great as long as our client is willing to either indemnify us or, we've checked all the boxes to where this isn't providing any legal risk, then like we're good to keep going. And that's usually with like imaging and like retouching. I haven't really seen that so much in a motion world just yet.
Yeah. I know the indemnification is a big sticking point for a lot of people, right? Who will indemnify who on what? And I think it depends on which tools you use, for sure.
Totally, 100%. I think it also comes down to likeness. Like it's so interesting that we're talking. And it's so interesting that we're talking about this because I have not thought about this in like a year and a half maybe, but there was a radio spot we did a while ago, right at the time when the AI voices of celebrities were kind of becoming a thing. They were starting to pop up and being very realistic, very believable. And we had cast a real person who happened to sound just like Sydney Sweeney. Like you could not tell it apart. It was so interesting because in the casting did not really notice it, but it wasn't until after she had recorded, a client said it. And then we actually had to end up recasting and re-recording because we were so concerned at the likeness and that someone would try to say that we had done an AI voice when that was not the case. That we actually pivoted away because we just did not have the legalities set yet. And we wanted to protect our clients. We wanted to protect the integrity of the creative. And that was like a year and a half ago. And so I actually would be interested to see if that popped up again or if clients in the creative brief for casting wanted someone with a certain likeness, how we would handle that now.
Issues are the biggest around likeness.
100%.
Right? Like that's where there's other big legal issues, but I think that is a very big one. One of the post-production studio that I represent, Pop Creative Studio, has created some proprietary software where they're creating what they call our AI twins. So they're not digital doubles. It's not synthetic people. They're real cast talent that they've gotten permission from them to use their AI likeness. So you get all the flexibility of using people, changing their clothes, changing their hair, using them in previs. Have they taken is this for a drug? So, or pharmaceutical project, do they start off overweight and then they become, they lost some weight, or have they gotten healthier? Like, so there's so much that you can do with an AI twin that you might not be able to do with a human. But the benefit is, the additional benefit is that you don't have the legal issues with that because the talent and the agency has signed off on that.
That's amazing. And I actually think that that's the future. And I think that that's what we'll probably start seeing even in the next year. I think we'll see a whole lot more of that because there is efficiencies to using AI. And I think like what we've been talking about, if you keep the human component, like, that's real talent that you've gotten their likeness. And now you're just creating a more efficient way to work with them throughout the spot. And I think like that's the way to do it, is keeping the human component, but making human lives easier.
Yeah. And I do think, at the root of storytelling is a human, no matter what kind of story you're telling, whether it be an AI story or a traditional, story. It's human centered. It starts with a human.
100%. And it ends with a human. It's a human that's listening. It's a human that's watching.
Yeah. And I just hope that in this AI world, as things progress and new technologies become available and everybody is trying to figure out how they fit in, that, the parts of our industry that are really valuable and so much of our creative, output has been on the backs of these really amazing, talented, photographers and directors and artists and illustrators. And, I hope there is a big enough space for those that want to stay in the industry.
Well, I think just as everything ebbs and flows and progresses, AI will eventually progress. And to your point, it was built on the backs of these true artists and creatives that we're going to need that group of people for the next round of what AI progresses to. Like, I do not think that it is something where it can just be left and continue to roll on its own. Like, I think every time that it needs to shift and update with society, there's going to need to be humans behind it. To your point.
I do agree with that. And I tell my artists all the time, like, AI was built on, scraping images or video or whatever from work that was already created, whether you do it or not. That's not this conversation, but it's based on work that was already created. So go out there and create inspiring new work and, be the ones to figure out what your next best look is and how you're going to inspire the next creative to want to work with you. And, now there are ways that you can, hopefully start to limit where your work shows up and that it's not going to continue to be scraped and all of that sort of stuff if you want. But I think it's really, really important for artists to just keep creating new, inspiring work.
1000%. I also think it's makes the AI work for you. Figure out how to integrate AI. If AI is here to stay and it's not going anywhere, how do you integrate that into your creative to where you are the person to go to for this thing that is inevitably going to be turned over to AI? How do you still stay the go-to artist, the go-to person? And so I think it's just a matter of ebbing and flowing. And I think you have the right idea.
Yeah. And I also think there's a bit of a pendulum, right? Everything is a bit of a pendulum. And yes, AI is a shiny object. And yes, it is being integrated and figured out. And I'd like to just hope that it's just going to be one of the many tools that we use. Everyone keeps saying that. And there are major differences, but I do think it's not going to be everything. So
100%. I mean, look at when Photoshop first came out. People were so scared of that. They were we can retouch these images. We can make things look however we want them to. I think it's all about having an understanding of times change. They just do. And so you got to be with it.
Totally. I think though with CGI, the photographer, let's just use photographers. They were invited into the room. They could learn the CGI. They can do work. You still needed them to shoot the project and help with the conceptual and, the lighting and the composition and the, creative. Whereas AI, like you said, we were talking about earlier, there are copywriters who are prompting and other creative directors who are prompting. You don't have to invite that artist into the room for this. So I think that's a bit hard. So
totally. I think that's a really fair point. But I think to that point, it's also the fact that these copywriters that are prompting, they're prompting because they picked up on the language from being in the rooms with artists. So I think there will still always be that opportunity if people are smart about it to bring the artist into the room. But I totally see your point that they have not done that in the full development of it, which is a miss for sure.
Yeah. And I think everyone's just still figuring it out. So that's 100%. Why create the inspiring work that they're going to want to learn from you and be with you and hire you and, keep you in that room with them. So
exactly.
Okay. So besides AI, what percentage of your projects do you think tend to be stills versus motion, or maybe you're doing motion with stills piggyback or something like that? Tell me.
Yeah, I would actually say that I work with more motion than stills. I would say that my bread and butter is yes, I've done a couple stills jobs, but typically if I'm producing on the films, there will be another producer that's on the stills. I tend to do films, and then radio are my two bread and butters. So I would say maybe 10% of my projects that I'm fully owning are motion are stills, and 90% of what I work on is motion or radio.
Okay, so when a project is motion forward, do you tend to call a production company or directors that you know, or do you call a photographer if you know that they can also do motion, or are you just like looking for the best resource and you're like going through all your bookmarks and all your saved resources?
So it totally depends on a couple different factors, right? Like there's the overall creative and like what does the creative call for? And then there's always the nagging fun sucker of it all, the budget. If I have a budget that's super healthy, of course I'm going to call a Prodco and see what directors they have on their roster. I'm going to call a couple that have directors that I know that I'm hoping I can work with. If the budget's very shoestring, I am looking for a director that also, or a photographer that can direct, so that I have a DP and a director all in one. And in looking for these partners, like, yes, I have to have the parameter of the budget, just because it makes no sense if I bring someone that can't fit into it, because then we can't actually make the thing happen. So yes, there is that layer of the budget that I look through, but really, truly, I'm such a nerd. I have a list of anytime I've ever seen a commercial, a thing on Instagram, an ad on the subway, anything that I like, I write it down, I look up who made it. And whenever I get creative and it's time for me to start looking for partners, my brain just ping, thinks, okay, what from my list does this look similar to? And usually in my search where I'm trying to pull up those directors or those DPs or the sound designer on that job, usually when or the colorist, like usually whenever I'm trying to pull up that, I'll stumble across a couple more projects that really fit the tone and the vibe of this creative. And then that's how my list starts to form. And I, try to maybe get like around 30 names initially to our creative team with like a top 10 favorite. And then from there, we cull down to maybe around 10. And then we really like sit and think. And then from there, it depends on if I have to triple bid or we just keep calling down and down and down. And then we usually bring the clients in around once we have 3 that we'd like to engage with. And we usually try to have a reco and try to really push for, hey, if we can single bid this is our guy, but here are 2 other people or 3 other people that we would be really happy to work with and happy to partner with.
It's so awesome to hear you talk about that in one fell swoop like that, because, in the olden days, right, when there were portfolios that you would have to call in, the artist would know that their work was being looked at, right? Then we went to the website, and I don't know when you're looking at my artist's work unless you happen to tell me, right?
Exactly.
And it's very rare now when I do find that I might happen to see someone, right? Like yesterday when I went to go show our new portfolio, and the person I was meeting with was like, oh, by the way, I put so-and-so up for a job. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. It's so nice to hear that. I would have no other way of knowing if I didn't run into you. And hearing you talk about it that way, I really hope that artists who are listening right now understand that if they are chosen for those last 3 or 4 or 5 people and get a chance to talk to the creatives and review the work, they've gotten cut down. Not cut down's not the right word, but they've gotten
they've been selected.
They've been selected out of a lot of people. So there's a lot of people who have you've looked at and considered and thought about it. And it's such a win.
It truly is.
And if you don't get the award, that's still a win, because you got to spend so much time with this creative team, talking to them, showing your treatment, talking about the job. That is enormous.
No, truly, going back to what you asked me at the very top of this, of what do I wish people understood more? It's almost exactly that, of when you make it to that final 3 or 4 or 2, where that you're where you finally are aware that you're in the running for a job, you have basically already mentally, we've thought about what it would be like for you to have the job, and we want you to have it. Yeah. Now it's just a matter of figuring out who is absolutely perfect for it, who has a niche in what they talk with us that actually makes it to where, on set, they're going to have some other ideas. And, there's certain things that we discover when we actually get to talk with an artist that then we're this pushes them above for the job. And so I think that, to your point, it is so important that people realize that once you know you're in the room, it's because we already would be very pleased to do the job with you. We're not going to put anyone in front of the client or anyone into a bidding process that we wouldn't be absolutely over the moon to work with.
It's so important. Yeah, because I think that whole, what do you call it? Triple bid process.
Yeah.
That like people kind of dismiss. It's like you present the one that you liked and the other two were kind of dismissed. But now, like the client has a lot of say and you need to be ready to shoot with whoever or produce with whomever is on the table there. You've got 3 good choices and you have to have them all buttoned up and all ready. Because even though you might have a creative recommend, the client might have a point that you're like, okay, yeah, good point. Let's do that.
100%. And that goes back to what we were talking about before with like the going back and making an edit to the treatment. And, you've done a couple rounds and then you may not get the job, but it's like those rounds were because we were fighting for you. Like those rounds are because we still like, yes, at the end of the day, we are a service industry. We are servicing the client and we really have built up a trust that they trust us to put the best creative forward and we trust them to make the best decision. And so it truly, all those revisions are really just based off of little notes here and there that maybe we heard the client say, or maybe something we picked up, and we're still trying to get you the job. And so that is something that I think it's good that we're talking about, that people realize it's not just us being nitpicky. It really, truly is we're trying to give you your best shot at doing this work too.
Yeah. Now, what about marketing to you? Like, how are people getting work in front of you?
So all places now at this point in time. My LinkedIn, I feel like, has turned into like another social media platform, which I don't know if I love or hate.
I know. I've noticed that too, and I'm bummed. It's skewing a little bit.
It's hard because at one point in time, it used to feel more like email. It felt a little bit like an email bulletin board situation. And it was somewhere where I wanted to consistently go. But then if I go there every single day or check it multiple times a day, it's like a whole new, it feels like I'm checking Instagram or checking Facebook. And so honestly, and like, I think those are great tools, which I actually find a lot of creative info on Instagram. But I would say the best way to really like get my attention and get a response from me and hopefully get a conversation going or a meeting is an email. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's just in this day and age, we do so much on Slack, we do so much in the DM space on LinkedIn, on Instagram, that sending me a good old fashioned email, one, it already reads as important to me, like more important than a social media DM. And I can star it and come back to it. But also when you email me with a link, I can bookmark that in my Rolodex. Or sometimes there have been artists that have been sent to me where their book is so perfect for a client that we currently have, where I'll bookmark it into that client folder I have organized to where it's like, okay, as soon as we know that the creative, I'm pretty sure this person's going to track with it. I'm going to go ahead and get them in front of creative so we can see if we can shoot with them.
That's so good to hear because email is hard, right? I get a zillion emails, but as I tell my artists all the time, like, there's also filters, right? So some agencies, like, it's so hard to even break through the filter sometimes, right? Or people filter the right to another, like, so you just never know. So, but I just wrote an article about this for my Substack about like how many emails does it take to get a response?
Oh, what was your finding?
Well, it was more about how a photographer once, a long time ago, said to me, Heather, how he saw me like basically dialing for dollars to try and make appointments one day from his studio. And he was just like, how many phone calls do you have to make to get an appointment? And I was like, I don't know, maybe 30, 20, 30. I wasn't sure. Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you better get calling. And I thought, oh my God, he just like put it in perspective for me. Like, oh my God, okay, if it's going to take me 30 phone calls to get one appointment and I've only made 10 today, like, yeah, don't get frustrated, Heather, because it's going to take you 30. So email's obviously different and it depends on what I'm emailing. Like, am I emailing random people that I don't know? Or am I emailing, people that I do know who will usually reply to me, right? But when I wrote the article that day, I wrote it because that day I was like, okay, I'm going to see how many emails it takes me. And I was emailing random people that I did know. And it took me, someone's going to quote me, but I think it took me like 71 emails or something and to get one reply from someone I didn't know. And then I had an artist the other day who was, promoting himself and sending out a bunch of emails. And he was like, I haven't heard back from anyone. And I was like, well, how many emails did you send? And he's like, 30. And I said, okay, well, that's like, you probably have to send more. And then just today, one of those people emailed him back and he's like, I got an email back.
Oh my goodness. But it's it is good to hear you. Or good is not the right word. I hate that it takes that many for you to get a response, but it almost is validating to me to know that, okay, like when I respond back to everyone, because I really do try to like be thoughtful and really I try to actually be able to respond back. So sometimes it takes me a while if I'm underwater because I want to give a thoughtful response. So it's like, I hate that it's taking that many to get through, but it lets me know that like when it hits 7 p.m. and I really want to shut my computer for the day, but I know I have 3 unread emails from a potential partner, that, you know what, just spend the extra 15 minutes to dive in and to read that and to get the conversation going, because that could have been their 70th email.
Yeah,
and,
right.
You know, that extra 15 minutes, like really just saves a lot of time for both of you and like gets you both where you need to be going.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but it has become a bit of a mantra for me. Like, okay, well, how many jobs do I have to lose before I win one? Right? I'm like, okay, maybe I have to lose 3 jobs before I win one. Well, bring on those 3 jobs because I want to win one. Right?
No, exactly.
Reframing it to, my husband has an ad agency and, you know, he's always pitching new business. And I say that to him all the time. I'm like, if it's going to take you pitching 5 clients to get one, like, well,
exactly,
lose those 5 clients so that you can win them.
And something that it's interesting that you say that, because something that I feel like I tell myself almost every day is like when something gets tedious or like when it's not going the way that I want it to, or if it, you know, like everyone has a project that sometimes you're like, dang, that wasn't the best way to do it, but we got through it. It is what it is. I always tell myself, like, I'm preparing for arenas I have not yet entered. So like something could feel like a throwaway project. I really firmly believe that there are no throwaway projects, but like something could feel like it may be smaller potatoes, but then the learnings on that or the output on that sets you up to be able to succeed in something bigger or something that you were maybe more interested in. And so I truly believe that you're preparing for arenas that you have not yet entered.
I'm going to remember that. I like that a lot. And a lot of times, like, things happen for a reason that you don't always know the reason for. It's not always apparent immediately, right? So good thing you didn't get that job because now you have time to do this. Or good thing that annoying client went away because now I get to focus on outreach and I get to get this next client who's really amazing. So
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I love all that kind of thinking. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so let's kind of jump ahead. I know I shared some questions with you, but I feel like we touched on briefly on a bunch of things, and I want to get your take a little bit on treatments.
Okay.
How much are they valued at your agency? Do creatives read them? Do you share them with your clients? Like, give me a little bit of scoop from Joan on that.
Oh yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the treatments are. That's how you're winning the job. We are definitely looking at those. We're asking you to make amends to it where we think you could be pushing differently in order to have a better shot at being awarded the job. My creatives really dive into those and really take those as the blueprint for how you're going to do the shoot and how you're going to make the project come to life. We actually did an eBay fashion job last summer where when we awarded to Rubber Band, our creative director said, "This was the most all-encompassing treatment I've ever seen. Beautiful, gorgeous, no notes." And he was like, "I can perfectly see how we're going to shoot this and make it come to life." And, you know, like, that's just like such a testament to like the work and effort that those guys at Rubber Band put into their treatment. And so things of that nature, just like, we definitely pay a lot of attention.
And do you share them with the client, or do you just share portions of it, or it depends?
You know, it does depend. I think we do try to share. And I'm like thinking back to all my different experiences. And I think almost every time we have shared the full treatment, because, you know, we've had you guys make those amends back and forth to get it to a place where it is going to client share. But yeah, we do share the treatments with the clients because we want them to have the full picture of what made us fall in love. You know, like if we just give a name and a link to their book, that's not really the same as showing the client how the artist has like put thought into how they're going to treat their work and how much effort they put in before even knowing that they had the job. Yeah. You know, like I think it would almost be like, I feel like not showing the treatment to a client would be like copying someone's homework, you know? Like, I think it's so important to show the treatment.
Okay, you have so many good little gems I'm going to have to pull from this. That's great. Okay, let's talk about the award process then. When it's time to tell an artist or a production company or an illustrator or an editor, someone that they've gotten the job, I'm sure always feels good. But how do you let the other people know? What's the process for letting the people who didn't get the job know?
Oh, this is my least favorite part of the job. I'm being so serious. Like I am very thankful that now after 4 years, I've started to get a little bit more comfortable in it. It used to truly break my heart to tell people no, because like I've said, when we have fully engaged with someone into the bidding process, we're excited to work with them. We want to work with them. And there have been several times where we've awarded to someone that maybe wasn't my first choice. And when I have to tell my first choice, it's emotional because you're vested in them. So I do always try to do a phone call. I think that is like rule number one. Let's finish this how we started. We got on the phone as buddies to get the bid where it needed to be and to like get the treatment where it needed to be. You don't get a cold email then, like we need to finish this how we started. And so a phone call. And then I had a really great EP several years ago, get feedback for what from the creative team for why maybe they didn't have why a creative director or why a director was more favored or why a client maybe chose not to go with someone. And I watched her put it in such a really productive way back to the producers that's something I try to do as well now. And I can't always do that. Like sometimes I'm not given anything concrete. Sometimes I've been told before, oh, we just liked their vibe better. And like, I'm not like, to me, vibe is energy. I'm not going to tell you, oh, we didn't like your artist's energy, like there's nothing productive about that. Like there's nothing that you can do to change that. And also that energy might be what wins them the job that they actually really, that would have been 10 times better than ours. You never know. Yeah. And so I try to get some constructive feedback as to why they didn't win this particular job. And I try to give that back to the producer as well. I think that those are two really important things, a phone call so that they can hear in my voice the sincerity, and we don't just push them to a cold email, and then constructive feedback if we can.
Okay, I want to work with you just so I can lose a job with you and call me and give me all that feedback.
Like I said, I can't always do it. Sometimes there is no feedback to give, and those are actually the hardest calls. Like when you can give someone feedback, you can also sometimes give your own opinion of like, well, I don't agree with this, but and like keep that conversation going. But when it's like there is nothing I can give, I just have to tell them, point out like, no, you did not make the cut. Yeah, that's really tough.
Well, I really appreciate the answer, but all the effort that goes in behind that and all the learning and attention you give to it is so important. I can't tell you how many times we get an email that is, so sorry, we went in another direction. And we're like, wait, what? We worked over a long weekend. 5 people worked on this. We spent thousands of dollars on the treatment. We had 2 one-hour phone calls. Like, okay, we don't have to win the job, but like there has to be more than we've gone in another direction. Like
100%. I feel that. I feel that so deeply. It goes back to what we were talking about the partnership and bringing you guys in earlier and having you guys do several rounds to give you your best shot. That it's like we need to talk about it. We have to we're so like, I just feel like that's so, I know that sometimes that can be the narrative of like, well, I mean, they understand that's how it goes. Clients have the final say, but at the end of the day, it's like, think about if a client looked at you and said, actually, we no longer want to do this job with you.
Yeah.
And think about if all of the work that you put in to up until this point was just thrown away without much of an explanation. Like that wouldn't feel very good.
That wouldn't feel good. Like, if you were in a pitch or something and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, sorry, we chose someone else.
100%. And that's like, maybe if you're a type of producer where maybe you don't bring your partner in as early, maybe you feel like that's an okay thing to do. But for me, given how much I partner with my partners before they're even awarded and how gracious they are to give me that time, definitely.
Yeah. And I had a photographer once tell me, Heather, by the time we present our treatment, I have produced that job. I have lived it. I have breathed it. I am dreaming about it. I am fully in it. He's like, I don't have passive treatment. Like I am fully in it. So to lose the job, it hurt. I mean, it hurts just like sounds dramatic. I mean, whatever. We all know we're not going to win every job. And that is like, you have a thick enough skin for that. But it's just the respect of recognizing how many people worked on it versus how long. And picking up the phone makes all the difference. Even if you don't have any answers for me, just give me a second to ask my questions and you can still say, I don't know, I'm sorry. Like, but it's just the tone and the, access to being able to have a conversation about it is really important. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, and of course, like when you ask the questions, that only helps the producer hopefully be able to think about, okay, well, what kind of questions can I ask when we do make our final decision so that I do have something to go back to the partners that didn't make it this time around.
Yeah. No, that's great. Okay. So before we end, if the people who are listening made it this far, right, they know that I have always asked the same two questions. What is your favorite thing to do on a Sunday? And if you were a producer, what would you be?
I love these questions so much.
Okay.
My favorite thing to do on a Sunday truly does depend on the weather. If it is rainy and gross, I am getting up early. I'm basically trying to do my weekday morning routine, like my pre-work, up until the point of getting ready, showering, getting ready. And after that shower, I'm putting on the comfiest clothes, turning on the TV, getting on the couch, getting my iPad, my Procreate, and I'm just like creative vegging. I'm watching movies I want to watch. I'm taking in the rain. If it's sunny out, however, I am trying my best to have Sunday emulate the workday cadence and routine as far as like the timing of things. But I'm trying to be outside as much as possible. I'm going on walks. I'm walking to the grocery store. Like I'm basically living my life as if I didn't have a job, but like what would my day-to-day look like?
Which feels so good, doesn't it? I feel like we need one more day of that in our life.
100%. Maybe 3 more days, 4 more days. Yeah. We should just work 1 day a week.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, maybe AI will make us so efficient and productive that we can do that.
100%. That's my hope. That it just takes it to where we're able to live for 7 days a week, but we only have to work for one of them.
Okay, I'm there. Okay, what would you do if you weren't a producer?
So if I wasn't a producer, the more obtainable answer would be I would probably be working in-house at a smaller boutique brand, like more on like their marketing and internal creative side, like maybe like a Summer Fridays, like a smaller like skincare brand, or maybe like an interesting fashion line, like something like still creative producing, but just maybe a conglomerate that isn't big enough to go to an agency. But the pipe dream, if I wasn't a producer, is I would totally be writing. I would be in a writer's room somewhere. I feel like I just maybe missed that boat a little bit and really love production. And I think writing can just stay a hobby. But I think that if I wasn't producing and it was like you will get to achieve and succeed at whatever you set out to do, I would definitely make my way into a writer's room.
Well, I would like to be right there next to you. Although I'd want to be more of an author but yes, writing, I've rediscovered it in the last couple of months, and it's bringing such peace. And I'm writing for work, but I'm also writing personally. And
I love that.
It's such a quiet, reflective moment that's all mine.
100%.
It's really nice. So I like that a lot.
It's so beautiful too sometimes to see the way through writing and through written word, how your brain has worked through things and processes things. And like if you're creative writing, what your brain is creating a metaphor for and helping you process. Like I think writing is so valuable and such a fun passion. And I hope that I get to read some of your stuff one day.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll share my Substack with you so you can read that. And then, maybe someday I'll share my personal Substack with people. It's out there, but it's anonymous. So
you should let your light shine.
Yeah. No, I'm just practicing right now.
I get that. I feel that 100%. That would be hypocritical of me to say, well, post it anyway, because I'm doing the same thing.
I don't mind it. It's just more that it's not ready for prime time, right? It's just,
I totally get it.
Practicing pushing the button and making the habit and pushing the button, and then sharing becomes something different later. So,
and you know what? I don't know who said this, but didn't someone say it's like 1,000 reps makes you an expert and like it makes you well practiced? So You know what? Don't share until you've gotten those 1,000 posts in. You keep that close to your chest.
That's right. So anyway, it is so lovely to talk to you and get to know you. I'm so glad that we connected here. Thank you so much. And I'm sure our paths will cross again soon. Have a lovely week. And I hope it's sunny and you get outside a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was wonderful. I feel that we will definitely work together in the future. So I'm excited for that time.
Excellent. Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.